All right. So what I'm looking at right now, GU, I want to. Uh, something not right. My computer's moving a little bit choppy. All right, we're good, man. But what I have been looking at for the past 24 hours, basically on GU, what happened was Price did all this. It did this thing right here. When Price came down to this area and it broke below. The reason why I didn't scale in and add another position here was because of candlestick analysis. And I was analyzing this, and the system that I'm going to show you guys is the system that I use for literally everything. And I'm using this now. And I was using it yesterday because not every trade needs to be taken. And the way that the system that I want to be like so automatic, I'm not at that automatic phase yet with it. Thinking mentally. It's a mental, more of a mental flow that I'm trying to make automatic. I am at the repetition. No, I wouldn't, no, not the repetition. I'm at the observe and analyze phase of it. You guys will see what I'm talking about in a second. But I'm at that observe and analyze and critique and critique and critique and high repetition. That's what the phase that I'm at. Because the system that I want to be automatic for me, the way of thinking that I want to be automatic for me is truly treating, being in the mindset that every single trade that I take is a $250,000 trade. Every single trade that I take, and it's not about the money. It's about the impact that a $250,000 would make in today's society, in my current life, what a quarter mil would do. And when I treat the markets like that, every single trade, no matter how much I make, I understand that one position could be a $250,000 trade. So the reason why I want this system to be automatic, because having a mindset like that, the trades that I take are a lot more precise. The trades that I take, I don't just jump into any trade. I think a lot more before I take any position. I wait, because if this one position flows all the way down to TP, just a 1 to 2, because every position that I make is a minimum of a 1 to 2. So that would be a $250,000. I would even make it a lot simpler to say $500,000, or even simpler to say 100K. It doesn't matter about that specific number. A six-figure trade. So let's just say $100,000 to make it even simpler. $100,000 would be a 1 to 2. So a 1 to 3 would be $200,000. That's how I treat every single trade. A 1 to 2 is going to be $100,000. If just a 1 to 2, if just one position gave me $100,000, I would be super patient for that position. I would try to maximize that one position. If there's no opportunities for me to scale in, I'm not going to scale in just to scale in, just to add more positions. If one position is all I get, I will wait as long as it takes until that setup plays out to take that one position. My reasoning behind this has so many layers of benefits to it. So many layers of benefits. It keeps me more consistent, more focused. It grows my spirit a lot more. It also sharpens the mind a lot more, especially when it comes to all the emotions that you would experience on the chart: greed, FOMO, fear, doubt. Because just by applying this one thing, FOMO, it is out of the window. Because I know that if I'm just waiting for that one trade, I don't care about missing out on a couple of trades until that one trade hits. Greed, trying to gain more out of the position, trying to squeeze more. I already gained $100,000. What do I need to keep trying to squeeze out more? Just one $100,000 position a week, that would be more than enough for me. So if I go in with that mindset, that means the trades that I take is very, very specific. I don't just take any trade just to take any trade. So that's why I'm applying that. That is the system. That is one system on the charts, trading wise, that I'm using the system framework to make that automatic. That is what I'm currently doing on the charts. Once again, the you guys will be able to apply this to literally any area in your life. You may be at a different area of trying to build your system. You would apply the same framework. I don't need to build a trading system. I have it. I have the setups. I have everything. Now it's these specific things. That's where I'm at in my journey when it comes to the trading aspect of things. So that is the thought process. That's like the current update on this current system that I am currently looking to improve on. So let me, and within here, within the community with you guys, we're gonna take a lot of time to go a lot more, lot more in depth when it comes to certain things, because this system, this framework can apply to literally any system in life. And I'll also do certain things as well. What I want to start implementing with you guys is critiquing and using the framework to help you guys with your systems and to critique certain things that you want to overcome and get better with. But I'm gonna break down GU real quick, and then I'm gonna go to the I'm gonna break down GU, then I'm going to break down the breakout setup, and then I'm going to go to the system flow. So let's get to it. So right now, when it comes to GU, yesterday, beautiful setups still playing out. The market is still looking clean. Price did come down to my first area of support, which was this 4 hour zone. And this is why I didn't add any, well, not, it wasn't the 4 hour zone, the 1 hour zone. I didn't add any positions at first because I was looking for a break and a retest of this specific area. And that wasn't the case. Price didn't, one second. I gotta fix my calibration. But price didn't come up into this area retested, and although price did create a lower high, what I saw here was this was a morning star pattern, and just looking at structure, price could have easily created a higher low and then continue to keep going up. I wanted to be patient and wait, and then price came down here, and then on top of that, price was so close to this 1 hour zone. For me, entering a position here, it wouldn't have made sense. Price was too close to this 1 hour zone. What I wanted, which would have given me a higher probability, which I am essentially waiting for now. Let me show you right here. Like now in this area, price is still rejecting it. I could easily take a trade here, but the thing about it is there's so many rejections here to the downside. What I want to actually wait for is more confirmation, not to the downside, at this area support. I want to see price actually break below support and actually close below support, hold as resistance, and then I would look to actually take sells. If I were to just jump in right now, if I can't classify me getting in right now as any one of my setups, then none of it is valid. This is not a break and retest because price is trading at a support area. It didn't break retest, I can tell you. This is not a bounce play This is not a domain expansion because price is actually trending downwards. This is not a breakout because the low is down here. So there's no setup to be taken. Yes, it created a lower high up here in this area, but it also created a lower high right here. It also created at this point in time right here, created a lower high. At this point in time, it created a lower high here as well. If I were to go out to the bigger time frames, what I see is now prices forming this lower high within here. And then on the 4 hour time frame, all this simply is was just a bunch of wicks to the upside. This could be that potential because if price breaks below 1 hour support, the next area is the next 4 hour is the next area, the closest area of support, which would be the 4 hour zone. I could add a bunch more in between, but it doesn't make sense because price rejected here and this all of this zone right here. For me to put a line is irrelevant because this is just one big zone, touch gap overlap. This is a huge zone that price is trading in right now. So what I want to wait for is the actual break price to actually close below here because there's two confirmations just by being patient that gives me a higher probability here versus trying to get in right here. If I wait for this break below here, I get a break of structure because now price is breaking below the previous low. That's one. And I'll also get a break of support. That's two right there just by being patient and waiting for price to break below here. And if that happens, now all I need is the third thing for price to be trading back at the resistance and for price to give me the candlestick entry for me to enter. And once that, if that does happen and I were to enter here, then I could look to still target down into the 4 hour zone, down into this next level again. I can add another position and then I can move. Let's say I were to enter somewhere around roughly in this area. Then at that point in time, I would say, where would my stop loss have to go to invalidate this setup? The market is trading bearish and it's trending bearish. If I would have put a stop loss right below here, that doesn't invalidate the entire move, the setup. A stop loss above here invalidates the setup. Because if price now closes below, this is where market structure comes into play. If price now closes below here, now we have a break of this low and price actually is trading and rejecting and continuing to trade lower. That means that this is now the new lower high. Right now at this point in time, this is not the new lower high because price did not break and close below here yet. Once price does break below and close below here, this will now become the new lower high, and then I would look to have my stop loss above here because if price breaks above here, that is a shift of structure back to the upside. So then I would look to get out of the position there, and then I would just look to flow with that. That's why I'm not adding another position now, and that's why I am just letting the market do its thing. Same thing with this initial entry that I had here. That's why I had my stop loss above the resistance range up here. Price came up a little bit, gave it breather room, wasn't worried, and then price came back down, and then it continued to do all of this, and now this is where price is currently trading at. Price is actually rejecting the support area again, so I'm not just jumping in because there's still 34 minutes left until this candle closes. This candle can close as a double bottom, closes a double bottom and invalidate the setup and continue to keep going up. Just like this is the analogy that I gave you guys, just like the bus. I'm on the trip, like I've been on the bus for a while. We're still on the way to England. We're still on the way to France. And until the bus breaks down, if the bus doesn't break down, I'll continue to be happy and wait to get to my destination. If the bus breaks down, well, I just got to, it is what it is. I don't get my refund back because I'm not up for 1 to 2 yet. A 1 to 2 for me would be roughly around here at this point in time at 133 300, 133 300, 133 400, roughly around this area. That would be my 1 to 2 points. And right now, I was only up a 1 to 1. So if the bus, you know, now just being wise, price can come a lot more. There's really no, since price is now currently trading below this resistance, I don't have to have my stop loss way above there. I can move my stop loss here because after price then rejected this area, created this lower high and comes down, if price continues to come all the way back up in here again, price could potentially create a higher low and then continue to keep going higher. So right now I'm just going to, let me see here, I'm just gonna do the same exact thing, let these 1 hour candles play out and just wait. I do want to set an, I'm gonna keep this alert down here. I'm going to set an alert down here at the lows, and that is all I'm going to be waiting for right now. So that's what I'm looking at on GU. So can you break down gold? Yeah, break down gold. I'll break down gold. Gold. All right. So starting off on gold, let me first look and see and ask myself, where's gold trading at? Gold is currently trading at a resistance range right now, a 4 hour, a major, major, major resistance range. Price is trading below it at this point in time. But what I'm looking at and seeing is beautiful. Looking at everything as a whole. First things first, before I look at the, well, I put everything together anyway. But just looking at market structure as a whole, clear charts, nothing on the charts, just looking at it blank, what I see is price was in this range, trading sideways. Price broke above the range, created a high, started breaking structure. Price came back down. It didn't come all the way back down into the support area. Now price is, instead of trading at the lows, price formed an area of support. Now it is trading right here in this mid-range. So what I see is the market is potentially showing signs of a breakout to the upside. Potentially. What would invalidate that is this could be an overlap where price broke above, broke back below, it's retesting it, and it continues to keep trading back within this area. Only time will tell. Neither one of those scenarios are valid because this is where the market is currently trading at right now. Price did not break out to the upside, and price did not break out to the downside. This area here. So that all I will be to this aspect of things. If price continues to maintain and break low, price could potentially come back down into support. If price maintains and continues to create this higher low, and this is another higher low and price starts to break above, I'm going to continue to keep looking for buys. And I see this is a very, very, very major area of resistance. So something has to happen for gold to break out of this resistance. Something has to happen. If gold was in this range since the 3rd and today is the 12th, if gold was in this range for about a week and some change, it broke above with this momentum, We ask ourselves, well, what happened that happened that made gold break out this time? This was the wars, the war, and then it came back down here. Understanding why the market is doing this because I understanding what's going on in the world. I keep hearing talks about the war that's going on, and now it's the dollar is quote gaining strength. I've observed, and anytime I ever see that, all that every time that's like a cue for me to know that that is confusion, that is deception, because the dollar does not is not gaining strength. The dollar is already basically at zero. The dollar is weak. The same person the same president that is promoting cryptos, is promoting the currency as cryptos, and is trying to get everybody to go away from the dollar. Yet you read all these articles, yet you read these things that says the dollar is gaining strength. That is deception. And that is a way of control because I'm gonna finish breaking down gold, but this goes deeper. This helps understand how the market moves. You guys understand that the markets are controlled by a group of people. BlackRock owns all of this. The markets are controlled by a group of people. They have the power. Satan runs this world. Remember, Satan runs this world. And higher ranking, let me show you how this looks like in play. I'm gonna show you how the market actually works. This is deeper. You know how Yah has his high ranking angels, his high ranking people that he has in higher ranks? The higher ranks, they get higher rewards. Just like if you are in a relationship with somebody, the longer that you've known that person, the more trust that you have with that person. So you open up more to that person. That person receives more things from you. That person receives more love and more attention from you than a random person that you just meet on the side of the street. Yah has his high ranking people, his high ranking blessings that you receive in the kingdom, those spiritual things. Satan has his demons and his high ranking agents, his high ranking demons. And the higher rank you are, the more rewards you see will receive, the bigger position that you have. So these people that sold their souls, Satan's high ranking demons, they have the biggest control. They control the markets. He's given them something where if they want millions of dollars, they can make the market move a certain way. That's how this works. These people that run the market, what they do is they force the market to consolidate. They force the market to come down. They don't just make the market do that. No. What they do is make things happen in the world that causes the fear, causes people to sell their stocks, and that causes the market to come down. And once it gets down to a point where they want it to be the discount for them, then they buy it up, buy it up, buy it up. That's where consolidation happens. They're buying it up. It comes down, it consolidates for a little bit. Hey, they letting everybody know, let's stack up. They stack up their positions. And then something happens in the world where a big breakout happens and the market just shoots up. What happened right here? The market consolidated for a little bit and then something happened in the world. I think this, and then boom, look at the big push up that happened. Interesting, right? It gets to a point where, all right, cool, we done. We made our money. We made our money off this quick move. If you want a prime example, I showed you guys this video before. But remember when Trump was in the office and it was like two or three of his friends. He was like, "Yep, my this friend he made a quarter like $2 billion today. This one made $900 million today. Today in a day." These type of moves that happen, they get their money in a day, they get out, and then the market comes down, they get back in. This is how they accumulate all this wealth. They make their money, they comes all the way up here. Boom, they get out. Let's drop the market all the way down. Everybody's in fear. Everybody's in, afraid. Boom, now let's buy back in. And boom, now let's go ahead and make 20%. Let's go ahead and catch all of this back. Let's go ahead and cause the government to shut down. We need some bread. Let's go ahead and cause the government to shut down. Let's do a government shutdown. Let's do wars. Let's do all of this. Let's make the market. How is it that the market just randomly just goes up? Not just randomly, but how is it that the market for a full year, basically, almost a full year, and then just rallies up and then has a super aggressive drop and then just rallies up? They've been doing this forever. These are the ones that run the market. And when you understand that, you understand this is how you get more of an insight on what's happening. That's why when you pay attention to what's going on in the world, that's what helps me, honestly, as a trader, because I'm very aware of what's going on. So I understand the whole agenda behind things. There's no, especially longer term, gold, indices, cryptos. I know that longer term, trading those is going to be the better move. And even currency pairs, trading currency pairs is always going to be currency pairs, because understand that it's not just the US. There's a group of people that run the world. You guys know that group of people. There's a group of people, the revelation people, the people that say that they are the true Israelites, but they are not. They run the world. They don't just run a country, they run the world. Understand that. They don't just run a country, they run the world. So, currency pairs are always going to, you're not going to see Euro USD or AUD USD, GBP USD move the way gold does, Bitcoin does. You're not going to see that, because if they run the world, they want everybody to be a part of this crypto thing, and they always going to have their currencies. So you're not just going to see GU break all-time highs and just keep on shooting up like gold is doing. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Or Euro USD. So currency pairs are always just going to move. They're just going to move regular. They just may have those big spikes up, big spikes down, whatever. Like big moves just because of what's going on here. Currency pairs, they're just going to naturally stay the same. But pairs like gold, indices, cryptos, these are the pairs that are going to be making those big moves up. And you got to understand, what's the agenda longer term? The agenda longer term is to get everybody to go away from currencies and to go to cryptos, metals. These people, the people that run the world, right? They are buying up all the gold, and they're not just coming on the charts and pressing buy and sell on gold. They're actually buying physical gold. Like they're getting physical gold, not just a bunch of, not just candlestick gold. No, they're not just trading this, coming to here, going to trade locker. No, absolutely not. They are actually buying physical gold and they are selling physical gold. They're making actual transactions. Over the long run, gold is going to continue to keep going up. Over the long run, cryptos are going to keep going up longer term. So understand that. But within these shorter term moves, you can trade bullish and bearish. But that's just so you guys understand the deeper meaning behind why the market is moving the way it does. So when you see these seasons happen, you're able to adjust and react to it. But looking at gold now, if I were to go to the 1 hour time frame, what I can see now is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shift of structure. Back to the bullish upside. So I know that the market created that higher low. Right now, price was low, low, lower high, higher low, higher high, shift of structure. So now price is shifted structure, and now price is currently, this line is too light. Let me change these 1 hour zones to green here. Boom. Here. So now price is currently trading at a area of support. As long as price maintains above this area of support and it holds as support right here, and I get that, well, I'm not trading this because I'm still in GU, and I would get that entry. This is where the buys would be here in this area. Stop loss would go below support, and then take profit would be back up into this resistance range, these highs. Stop loss would go below the lows because the longer term flow, since structure is actually being formed now, because it's actually right now, potential election and the target firstly this resistance, then up is there's an entry anywhere within this area, it would be the way of either having the stop loss below here, because if price breaks below here, prices, this is breaking structure, and probably I don't want to be in the trade, and the TP will be up into here, which is that, or it's not even conservative. That is the smarter move, the more precise move. Is seeing that, not just looking at support resistance. That's one thing that I've observed with my system that I've critiqued, is not just looking at support resistance. Just only looking at support resistance would cause me to just lose a lot of trades for no reason. That's where those wick out happens. Just looking at support resistance. If I were to just look at support resistance, I would put a stop loss right here. If I was just looking at support resistance. And I could put a stop loss right here. Price comes down, stops me out. Boom. Yeah, this is a 1 to 8. But once again, like I said, if I can gain a 1 to 2 minimum, that's $100,000 trade. That's what my mindset is. So I would put my stop loss. I would need to put my stop loss way below here, because if I get stopped out like right here, below here, that shows me that price is not creating a higher low right here, and this is not a break and retest setup. So I will put my stop loss below the previous higher low that formed right here, not way below there, because that doesn't make sense. Here would actually make sense, because if I'm looking at this right here, it means I'm looking at a break and retest. If I were to enter some type of trade here, this is a break and retest. So that means the stop loss goes below that. That shows that this support area, this zone, is holding, and if price fails to break above hold here, I'm wrong and I don't want to be in the trade. So I would give my stop loss a decent breathing room here if I were to enter the trade after confirmation. There's no confirmation. So if I would enter, stop loss would be here, and I'll look to target the highs of that. That's what I'll look at with gold. But it would just have to wait until this 1 hour candle closes, because this 1 hour candle would say a lot. If this 1 hour candle closes below here, I'll even adjust this to right here because I don't want to put a box. I'm gonna adjust this to right here because this is the cleaner area because I see that the body closes, all these body closes right here. Look how beautiful this is. Body close right here. And understanding that in a bullish wave, bullish candlesticks always hold more weight than bearish. All I would simply have to do is wait on the 5 minute time frame for that shift of structure, that confirmation, and then take the buys there on gold. So that is the breakdown of gold. And then I want to break down my system. I want to break down the, what's the word? The breakout setup. I got you, Kristen. I appreciate you reminding me yesterday. I got you. Let me pull it up on my canvas so you see exactly what it looks like. And then once I break this down, what I'm gonna do is break down the let me see. Break down the 5-step system flow. Let me see what we got. This is what it looks like here. That's this. We'll go over this in a second, but let me go to my breakout. Boom. Boom. So when it comes to the breakout setup, it's very simple. The requirements are this: the market is trending or breaking out of a domain expansion. That is the only time that I would look for a breakout. If the market is consolidating and the market is breaking out of a consolidation, just by, if the market is doing this, let me, because I want to give you two examples, right? I want to actually, let me, nah, we could, let's do it like this. Let's do it. Let me actually go to a study chart. Let me make sure the chart is clear. Perfect. This is the only two scenarios that I will look for a domain, not a domain, a breakout. If the market is trending, that's when I'm looking for breakouts, bullish or bearish. If the market is in a domain expansion is playing out, because when a domain expansion, the market breaks out of that consolidation. If the market does this and creates that higher low and breaks above, I would look for a breakout setup. Don't be super here about it. These are the only two conditions. Obviously, this applies to if the market is going down as well. It's not if market is here, and just above. This is not right here. This is not, because with that, easily come back and look and start trading back between. The only two scenarios right here. The market creates a domain expansion, it's trending. That immediately makes it so much simpler. So let me clear this off, remove drawings. And once we got that requirement down, so now you know that momentum is present. Momentum has to be in the markets. If the market is creating small candlesticks, small candlesticks, small candlesticks, that shows that's not a lot of momentum. If there's big candlesticks, and what is momentum? News events, wars, things that's going on in the world. That's momentum. That's a lot of momentum. So big candlesticks, things that's going on in the world, news events that just happened. Let's say news came out at 8:30. We know that there's momentum in the market. Market opens, let's say trading indices 9:30. There's more momentum in the market. If it's 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and there's no movement, there's small candlesticks consolidating, there's no momentum in the market. There's no volume present. When there isn't volume present, that's what a fake out is. It's just a push up and come back down. It's not enough volume for price to actually maintain and continue to keep shooting up. So momentum has to be present. Price is trading at the previous high or low. Price breaks above the high or low with the momentum. The entry is taken on the break with targeting a 1 to 2. So this is the one time with the breakout where the trade is taken before the candle closes. This is the only what's the word? Only exception in the system where a trade is taken before the candle closes. Because if you wait until after the candle closes, that invalidates a breakout. Because what could easily happen is by the time that 5 minute candle closes, the 1 to 2 already played out. And now price comes back down, and that's a whole different setup. That's a break and retest setup. So the entry is taken on the break with targeting a 1 to 2. So every time, every position, that stays the same within my system. No matter what position I take, I'm not taking. If this setup was looked to just target 1 to 1s, I would not take breakouts. But if I'm looking to target a 1 to 2, that makes it valid. And how it works is once I'm up a 1 to 2, the same exact trade management system follows. I move my stop loss to a 1 to 1, and I keep on moving my stop loss with every R multiple. And what invalidates this setup is if price immediately pulls back into the range or back into that higher low. So what this looks like into play is if I'm gonna show you what it looks like bullish, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like in the domain expansion, and then I'll go over some chart examples. If the market is trending bullish, and let's say there is a lot of momentum in the market, right? Once price breaks above this high, when price is breaking above this with momentum, this is where I entered the trade, looking to target that 1 to 2. And what I mean would invalidate this if price breaks above this and immediately starts trading back in between this range. I know that's a fake out, and I no longer want to be in a position. I'm going to cut the position here. Same exact thing when it comes to the domain expansion, right? Boom, boom, higher low here. Price is breaking above the high. I'm going to enter right here, and I'm going to look to target that 1 to 2. If price comes immediately back in, that invalidates the setup, and I would get out of the position. So let me show you what this looks like on the charts. Let me show you some scenarios. Let's see. Gold is, I can't show you a scenario because it's straight sideways. So I need to show you a place where the market is moving. Okay, here we go. This is the domain expansion right here. Let me do two charts side by side. And let's go here. And the time frame that it's used on is just depending on it. It could be the 5 minute or 1 minute. You can look at the 5 minute and 1 minute to take the trade, because this same thing. It doesn't matter if it's on a 5 minute or on a 1 minute, because it's the same thing. The price is breaking above a high. It's breaking above a high. It doesn't matter if it's breaking above on a 1 minute or 5 minute. I'm not waiting for the candle to close anyway. So I would spend a lot more time like on the whichever time frame, and once I see it start breaking out, then I would get into the trade. Let me change this chart color to apply to all. Let's go to gold. To the study chart on gold. All right, let me put this on the 5 minute time frame. I'm gonna keep this on the 1 hour time frame just so we can look at it and see over here, so I don't have to keep on switching between 1 hour and 5 hour. Let's look at this domain expansion setup that played out right here. So we had the low, which we'll call the, let's say because the low can either be right. Let's say the low's right here, right? The low's right here, and then we have the highs that kept forming, which was right here. And if I'm looking at, just to show you guys a quick example of what it looks like for it to be invalid, let me go over, where's the setup? All right, cool. Let me show you a scenario real quick where it's not valid, right? So we see the market. Well, this is the scenario where it played out right here. So actually, I can show you two within eventually. So this we see I gotta turn this down. I just screen it out. I'll see how GU closes in the next hour. Well, in the next 4 minutes. But price was trading bullish right here at this point in time. Where's the candlestick? Right here. Here's a beautiful example. Let's look at this with inside here. Let's look at this right here. Let's look at this. So we can see how this right here was a higher low. I mean, not higher low. This is where this domain expansion played out. We had the lows, then we had the resistance right here. Price came down, came up here, created the higher low here. So this is the scenario where I would look to take the breakout right here in this area. Because remember, once again, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's the 5-minute or 1-minute time frame. And the way that I personally do it, once again, since I focus more on the bodies than the wick, I like to keep it very consistent instead of just picking and choosing. I like to keep it consistent. This I would classify, since this was the range of it and this was the previous high, I would say that the high is right here at the body. Price broke above that. So this is where I would look to enter the trade with this breakout. I would have entered the trade here. I would have my stop loss below the range, because I don't have to have my stop loss way below here because this is a breakout. I'm not putting my stop loss along with structure. I'm putting my stop loss in a position that if price breaks back below the range, then I'm wrong. So I'll have my stop loss below the range, and my minimum target is going to be a 1 to 2 with this position right here. We can see, look what happens. Price breaks above, continues to 1 to 2. And this is where I mean by the 1 to 2, it can easily turn back into a retest setup. Once I 1 to 2, what I'll immediately do is move the stop loss to 1 to 1. And what would have happened was I would have got stopped out at a 1 to 1, break and retest, boom, another setup there. But we're just focused on the breakouts right now. Same thing here. This was the high that formed here. For looking left, going over, boom. Same scenario right here. This was the right here. I'm going to just use this. We're on the 5-minute. There's more momentum in the market. Actually, I can do the 1 hour, 5 hour, but 1 hour, 5 minute. But let's just there's momentum in the market. It's high. You see what happens once price starts breaking above here. This is where the breakout will be taken. Entry here. Boom. Now my stop loss is going to go below the range, because if price breaks back below here, I'm no longer right and I want to get out of the position. Stop first TP, a minimum of a 1 to 2. Immediately move the stop loss to a 1 to 1. Would have got stopped out at a 1 to 1. Boom. This is what it looks like this. I'm going to show some examples because I want you guys to see where it is invalid, and I want you guys to also see where that would turn to a much bigger position. I'm showing that in these conditions, I can go to another pair like that and show you prime examples. Nas is the reason why the system is the way it is, because I remember the reason why I don't just close at a 1 to 2 is because of me studying Nas. I would move my stop loss to that 1 to 1, because Nas would turn into a 1 to 18, probably like a 1 to 7 or 1 to 6 in like minutes. I want to show you some more examples. Let's look at this overall that we had here. Let me take these off. Take these off. Let's look at this overall one, this major one. And especially, always understand, the bigger time frame, the bigger move. Higher time frame, higher move. Beautiful analogy is like a balloon. The more air, the bigger the balloon that you have, the more air that fills that balloon, the higher sound it makes when it pops. If you have a small balloon, if you have a balloon that you blow up to this size and you pop it, the noise that it makes is not going to be as loud as a balloon that you had that was this big and it pops. always understand that when it comes to seeing setups play out on certain time frames. Seeing a setup play out on a higher time frame. Let me see something real quick. Let me look at GU. I want to see how this one hard candle closed. It didn't close below. It didn't close below yet. Still rejecting it. I'm gonna just still continue to be patient. What I can see here is a shift of structure here. This was this previous low right here. If price does potentially come back up into this area right here and create this lower high and reject this, that could be a potential scale-in opportunity, because I see the shift of structure. I don't need to go to the 5-minute time frame to see this, but this is a counter trend. Low, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. Now price broke and closed below here. So price broke back structure to go down to the downside. All I need to do is just wait for that pullback on here. So what I'm gonna do is keep this on the right side so I can monitor it, and then we'll go back over here and we'll go back to this and go back to this. Boom, what was it at? Should be correct. We got a time frame and same scenario here. This is a scenario where the two turns into a much bigger. So we take it the high, so we don't get in right here. Stop loss. Now this is the same how to change. So again, so look at 1.8 almost. So and we have to go right here. That's what I'm saying. I'll show this area what it looks like when you're up that 1 to 2 and you potentially get stopped out at that 1 to 1. And then I showed the scenario of what it looks like when that 1 to 2 turns into a much bigger position. So with me seeing those and when I was studying this, over the long run, that actually makes sense to have this system in place. Because I know I could keep making 1 to 1s, getting stopped out at 1 to 1s, but I know all it takes is just that one trade to play out, and look what happens here. So that's what that looks like when it makes a bigger move, and that's what it looks like when you just get stopped out at a 1 to 1. But I want to show a scenario of when it's invalid, when you take the trade, when the setup itself is valid, like actually entering it, but it immediately comes back down into the support range. I want to see if I can find a good setup. This isn't one because price was consolidating. This right here is what I mean by an invalid one. This wouldn't be valid at all because taking a breakout here was invalid because there's no expansion. And the like show you this time. Here we get back to consolidating. This is not right. I'm just going to play out because all that I'm seeing right now, here. When you're trading, probably more times than not, uh, we can look at this one. Let me see. Was the market actually trending bullish at this point in time? Low, lower, high, higher, low. This one isn't even valid either because the market was still overall bearish. Once it broke above here, that's a different story. That's the thing, like I've observed when it comes to this setup. When I'm only looking for positions that are in that domain expansion and trending, more times than not, it does play out with the breakout, and as you can see, it does. But I want to show that not every single time it does not play out. I want to show a scenario where it actually comes back in, and in order for me to show that, it has to be an actual valid breakout setup. I can't just show you any random setup. If the market is not trending a certain way, and I just were to say, oh, look at how right here, like prime example. If I were to just say like right here, this could be a good, yeah, this is a perfect example. This is an example right here. Finally found one. So we see that the market was trading bearish. This was the low down here. Boom, the market was trading bearish, and we know that boom, boom, price comes down, and it's that day. But the that's what it was. Let's say I entered down here with this momentum. I meant because it's creating lower lows, lower highs. I entered right here once this candle broke. The stop loss will go right above, because if price breaks back above, it was invalid. And as you can see, I stopped it out. This would have been where it came back immediately back into the range, which would have invalidated that. Even though it did go in and price did create the same exact thing. That's how it works. You can, if it's invalid, it's still back into the trade. This is still the low one. Wick, do the same as you get. That's dealt a double bottom, and price is rejecting that area, and it's gonna potentially come up. And boom, 1 to 2, same scenario. Let's look at how this plays out. So you would have took the loss, been aware, got right back in. Now you're up a 1 to 2. Price continues to keep coming down. Up a one. I think I took this position because I like just reviewing it. I remember being in a position where I actually applied this setup. It just seems too familiar to me. But up a 1 to 4, stop loss gives, well, actually, I was in this position because I remember I was up a 1 to 6 or something. And a 1 to, so you a little bit more context, a little more understanding of how it works. Let me make sense. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if I broke that down in a way that allowed it to click for you, bro. And everybody else as well. You all let me know. Let me know how that explanation was for you guys. Was it simple? Was it clear? Was it a good explanation? Did I explain that well? And also, if not, then let me know if there's any other questions about that specific setup that you have. Oh man, what did I do? Let me go back here. Get to the chat. It was clear. Perfect. Perfect. Was it clear for you too, bro? Mm-mm. Let me see. It was very clear, bro. I'm gonna watch this again for sure. Much love, man. Much love. I'm grateful that it was clear. I'm grateful that it was clear. I'm grateful that it was clear, bro. So now what I'm going to do, now that you guys saw that, I want to show you the framework, because you guys see what the system looks like, but how do you get to that point? How did I get to the point where I was able to build out that system of the breakout? How did I get to the point where I look at it that way? How did I get to the point where I only take it on trending markets and I only take it with the domain expansion? The domain expansion part, and this is actually another key thing as well. The breakouts, because the domain expansion, I made this setup wasn't something I always had. You guys know this. It was always just like the bounce plays, the breakouts, and the break and retest. The domain expansion is new. This is something that I've learned over the past I learned the domain expansion during that big bull run on gold last year. Yeah, last year. That's when I built the domain expansion system last year because I seen it play out so many times. And then I started studying it and back testing it on every pair, on all the pairs I was trading. I seen, oh, this setup plays out a lot of times on every time frame. But this is the system framework that I follow for every single thing, every single system that I build, every single system on how I guide people. This is the system flow. This chart stays the exact same way, and it's super simple. It follows the same process. This I call it the system flow. Number one is to define the pattern. Number two is to train the actual pattern. Number three is high repetition. Number four is observe and adjust. Number five is automation, and the cycle continues. And the reason why this framework is so powerful is because it applies to both systems and habits. It applies to literally every single thing in life. Any habit, any system that you want to build, it applies to everything. And it also applies to understanding how the bad habits that we have form. I can give you two examples, so many examples. Let me give you an example of how this system will work to reveal the bad habits of somebody. This is how I use this system to observe the things that people struggle with, and this is how I use the system to actually help people build the habits that they want. Let's say somebody is obese, fat, out of shape, 200 plus pounds, a bunch of guts, all that, right? The first thing that I do is I define the pattern. We define the pattern. What is the pattern? Okay, every time this person, the pattern, there's so many patterns, but let's just use let's say, because everybody, people become obese for many different reasons, but let's just say one specific reason is the self-talk that they have. The self-talk that they have. They keep saying, I'm never going to get in shape. Let's say they were 200 pounds. They didn't have the abs. They had a little gut, right? It wasn't nothing too crazy. You could work on that. You could work on that. But the self talk, the self doubt, they're comparing themselves to everybody else with the nice abs. They see somebody else at 200 pounds with abs and look absolutely amazing, right? So they start telling themselves, I'll never be able to look like that. That's the pattern. I'll never be able to look like that. And what happens is what they start to do, you define the pattern because you have to be very specific. Very specific that the pattern is the mental cues of self-doubt. And what they do is train that pattern. They keep telling themselves they're not going to do that. So they actually train in a way that they never will. And how do they train that way? Continue to keep eating, overeating, being lazy, not working out, not even attempting it. So constantly keep eating whatever. So that means if they keep telling us, if you keep telling yourself, right, you're never going to be in shape, you're never going to get into that position, you don't care about what you eat. You go to McDonald's twice a day. You told yourself you're not going to get in shape. So you're going to train that actual pattern. And that's how you train it. I'm not going to get in shape. I'm just going to McDonald's every day. I'm going to just eat out cookies, ice cream all the time. And guess what happens? You start doing high repetition. So now you continue to keep repeating that same pattern over and over and over and over and over again. And now guess what? Observe and adjust. So now what happens is your body starts adjusting to that. And what does your body look like adjusting? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you no longer care. Now you will eat anything at any point in time. You don't care about whether it's processed, not processed. You start adjusting to that, and guess what happens after that? That system becomes automatic. You just made an automatic system. And guess what? That loop continues, and every time this loop continues, guess what? Observe and adjust. Now you went from 200 pounds, cycle. 250 pounds, cycle. 300 pounds, cycle. That's how the cycle continues. That's how it works for bad habits. If we're talking about, let's look at a scenario of creating a good habit, right? Let's use, since we use the scenario of food in the body, let's use a trading scenario. Let's use a trading scenario because I want to show you guys this framework works in every single category. You guys can even, I want you guys to give me a system, right? That's what I actually, you guys do that as well because I want to create so many videos. I'm going to create like so many videos that uses this same exact framework to show you how you can use this same framework to identify habits and to overcome it. So what I want you guys to do is, if you guys don't mind, give me topics. Give me things, whether that's things that you struggle or things that you notice in the world. And I want to have a big list of things because I really want to truly show how this framework can overcome any single thing. So, if you guys don't mind, anything that comes to your mind, literally anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Any system that you want to either build, improve upon on, or a habit or system that you want to break. That's the beautiful part. You can build a system with this and you can break a system with this. So give me as many as you want. You guys type that out and I will use the scenarios, use the examples. I would just create an endless amount of videos for that. That's what I'm going to do video wise. I'm going to make a video, multiple videos about that every single day. That's what I really want to build upon. So it doesn't matter what it is. You guys just tell me and I will build upon that. So you said studying. Cool. Let's apply. Let's do that with this one, right? So studying, do you want to, so you want to build a system around studying. So boom, we define the pattern. And the first thing is, when it comes to the pattern, we be very specific. Let's go deeper than just studying. Studying what? Studying what? Because you can study anything. So this is how this is, I want to show you exactly how it works when it comes to studying. So we got the word studying, but we need to go deeper than that. Exactly what's about studying that you want to improve. Let's apply it to schoolwork. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. So schoolwork. That's a great that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. So let's say we got schoolwork. We can go deeper than that too. We can go deeper than that too. We can go deeper than like just schoolwork. Because you can apply it to any subject of school. But if you're trying to, what are you trying to do with schoolwork? That, see, we can go so much deeper. This is how we first, the in order to go to step two, we gotta actually get step one right. Step one is being very, very precise. So we know that we want to study. We know that we want to study, get better at studying school. So let's say that we are a student. We want to get better at studying. Now we ask, what is it that I want to improve on with studying? Is it the consistency of studying? Is it actually having a system of studying that actually allows me to remember things? So like is it consistency of memory? Okay. So I want to be able to build a system where I can study as often as possible that makes studying a repetitive thing, where I don't need to try to force myself to study. I know that I just naturally just start studying. That's the automation. We want to make that automated. I want to make studying automated to where I naturally do it. Even if I don't feel like doing it, it just naturally becomes natural to me. And I also want to make the way that I study that I actually remember it. So let me build out a note. Let's build out a note. So what we want to do is how we're gonna build this is the goal that we want to have is we want to study with study without friction. Let's just say study without friction. And what we also want to do, I know I spelled without wrong. Let me see. Study without friction. and we want to actually remember what we are studying. So in order to do this, what we have to do is, let me see, let me build this out, drag this out. So this is how we're going to do this. In order, we want to study without friction, so be able to study consistently. I'm gonna just put this over top of this. Let me see. Remember. Remember what we are studying. So in order to do this, we have to simplify our studying. Simplify our studying. So we have to go even more deeper. We have to remove the noise. Then we have to determine a way of studying that works for you. Understand that. A way of studying that works for you, not what your teacher tells you. Studying efficiently. I like that. Studying efficiently. That's the word that let's use that. Study efficiently. Let's do that. So that's the, oh boy. My keyboard is getting sticky. Study efficiently. Efficiently. So we want to study efficiently. So we have to simplify our studying, remove the noise, determine a way that studying that works for you, not what the teacher says, not what anybody else says. So this is what we do first before we go to, because we can't train something if we don't have something to train. So we have to put our emphasis and focus. We spend the most of our time on step one. This is where the bulk of our time is spent. Once we get this down, everything else, the loop, it becomes super simple. So we got to determine a way that studying that works best for you. So now that's when I would ask the person. So if that's something that you want to do, like Teresa, like studying officially, then you tell me what is the way that works best for you. If not, then what I'll do, I'll just think of something off the top that we'll be able to use to apply it. So you let me know if this is something that you actually want to get help with, or is this just a random example? Because if it's a random example, I will say a way. But if it's something that you actually want to improve on, tell me the reason. Tell me a way of studying that works best for you. And how do you determine this? What are the things that you actually enjoy learning upon? What do you actually enjoy studying, and actually what do you enjoy learning doing? Because if we're talking about schoolwork, unless you actually genuinely love studying and schoolwork, yeah, that ain't gonna apply. Unless you actually genuinely love studying and genuinely love schoolwork and genuinely love whatever it is, that's different. But if it's random, okay, cool, perfect. If it's random, now I will be able to flow a lot more. So now I would just use me, for example. If I was studying in school, how would I create a system? I would simplify my studying. I would remove the noise, and I would determine a way that studying that works best for me. I know that I would hate school. I don't like the schoolwork, but it has to get done. So I would ask myself, what way of studying works the best for me? I learn better by analogies. For me personally, I learn better by analogies. Learn better by visualizing certain things. I learn better by simplifying things. I learn better by looking at things in parables, looking at things in proverbs. I learn better. I study better. I enjoy studying better when I take something that is so complicated and I simplify it so much and I turn it into analogy. That what makes me excited. I love that. When I take something, let's say something that is so scientific based, so it gives you 1,000 different things about, let's say, the mind, right? Let's say how let's say your brain. Let's say we're talking about dopamine, right? And it gives me 15 different ways of how the brain, all these different parts of your brain and the certain sensors and how it correlates to this and this and this and this. I would take something so complicated like that, and I would say the dopamine, bro, that's spiritual warfare. That's literal. That's just your flesh raging war against your spirit. That is literally your flesh, because the flesh wants to sin. The flesh desires to sin. I take something so complicated and make it very simple. That is how I study. So once I determine that, this is how I'm going to build my system. So now when I'm studying, everything that I study, I'm going to look at it in this exact same way. So now that I've identified this, so what works best for me? So for me, let's just say analogies, simplicity. I'm gonna just use two words, keep it simple. Analogies and making complicated things simple. If I'm being completely honest, bro, if I applied this system when I was in school, I would have passed every single one of my class, top of the class. I would have been at the top of my class. If I would apply this system that I have now back when I was in school, school would have been so much easier for me. Even though I hated it, I would have still been able to study and be able to pass all my grades so easy. I'm just thinking about this now because the reason why I said making complicated things simple, math. I hated the complication of math. The yx mx bx plus square. I would have made something like that that's so complicated. I would have made it simple. So now that I've identified the pattern, this is what I want to do. Study officially. I know what works best for me. Now I'm gonna actually train the pattern. So what I'm gonna do is every single time that I get study material, every time that I do, I'm going to apply that. Let's say I'm reading something, whatever it is, I don't know any subject. But let's say I'm in a specific class and they give me some complicated thing about the body. Or, you know, it's crazy. Now that I'm thinking about it, just off the top, just this is just so random. I used to apply this system in school. I used to apply this system in school without knowing it. Now that I actually think about it, because I remember I used to apply this. Let me give you an example. I'll give you one example of how this system worked. I can actually give you a real example. It was in my senior year or junior year of high school. We used to have college classes. As a high school, we could take college classes for college credits. And it was one class in particular. It was human human analogy, human something. It was about the body. It was like about human thing, like about the body. And I vividly remember the way that I used to study. I never used to actually study throughout the week. What the teacher would do is she would give us a study guide. That study guide, what I would do is a day or two before, how I would remember everything, I would make certain cues within that. I would correlate whatever it is to help me remember. Let's say the question was, what was this specific bone in the body or whatever? Where is this bone located? I would try to come up with a way of visualizing and come up with something that makes me a cue that makes me remember this bone is directly human anatomy. I think it was something like that, bro. I think it was like human growth and development. It was something because I remember we was talking a lot about like the internal body. We was talking a lot about like sex and like sexual reproduction and the things inside the body. It was something like that. I think it was human anatomy, bro. And it was certain things about the body, and I would remember certain cues. And you want to know how I know that that was the system? Because I used to actually get excited for the test. I'll never forget. I was the person in class every single time when we came into class. It was like on a Thursday or Friday when we used to take our tests. Even the teacher, it got to the point where even the teacher knew. I would walk in class and everybody knew, yo, Sears about to get an A on this test. I never failed a single test, not one time in that class. I always had the highest grades. I always got A's and above. every single time we walked into class, because I studied the night before and I would remember those cues. So as soon as I got the test, I will always remember that, play that in my mind. Before I came to class, I was always remembering playing those cues in my mind. We came down, the students was, yo, Sir, like, you ready for this test? You gonna pass it? It got to the point that a lot of people were jealous. A lot of people were mad. A lot of people wanted me to fail. You wanna how I know that? Because after every single test, nobody cared about their grades. Everybody, yo, Sir, what did you make? Yo, Sir, what did you make? Yo, Sir, what did you make? I vividly remember that. The people that wanted me to fail, everybody would ask me, and I would say it out loud. I would say my grades out loud so everybody would know, because if I failed, it is what it is. They just wanted to see me fail. Even the teacher knew. The teacher, she was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, he passed. Because we would always she would always stand at the front because we would have classes on that Tuesday. So we would take that test on that Thursday or that Friday. So when we came back on that Tuesday, she would always be at stand at the front, and she would say, "Do you guys want me to read out your grades? Yes or no?" And I would always say yes. I would say, "Just read it out loud." I would say, "You could just read it out loud." And she would always, I didn't know what I was making at first. And she would always say a 92, 96, a 100, a 90, a 88. Well, I actually no, I never made lower than a B. I never made lower than an A. I always made A's. Like a 92, 96, 94, 90, X, Y, and Z. And people was like, yo, like, how is it that you don't study, you don't take this serious, but yet you pass every test? It was because of that system that I put in place. So for me, if I'm using the same thing, if I'm using an actual real world example that I did back then that I didn't even know, that's what I would do. That make it easier. I would find certain things. So if there's a piece of the body, if there's a piece of this, okay, what is it? I need to find the cue. When I see something specific, a specific formula, if I see the specific formula, I immediately need to come up with something that will make me immediately remember what the answer is or how to actually solve this formula. I could, the same thing with math, right? If it was a math, if it was let's say yx mx plus b, whatever that, the Pythagorean theory, the mx squared bx squared, let's just take one of them. I have no idea what they are. I really don't care. Let's just say mx squared bx squared, or let's just say multiplication. I would find, okay, as soon as I see the word, let's say, let's use it simple terms. As soon as let's division, multiplication, subtraction, addition, right? Let's say multiplication. As soon as I see that X for multiplication, I need to have a system that as soon as I see that X, I know exactly how I'm solving this problem. Exactly. I solve it the exact same way. So if we have 120 times 160, 50 times 639, 1,000 times whatever, I need to have a system. I need to have something. Every time I see that multiplication symbol, I follow the exact same pattern. So let's use that for this one. So let's say it's the multiplication, and I want to get better at being able to consistently do multiplication problems. I would find a pattern. I would find something that every time I see this number, a framework that I follow, the same exact flow. I would take this number and do it like that. There's so many ways to multiply. So let's just say you found one of them, whichever one it was. There's so many ways that people can make multiplication easy. I'm not about to go through all of them, but I found one that works. So what I would do is I would train that actual pattern. I wouldn't just do my studying. I wouldn't just do the study guide. I wouldn't just do it just to get it in and turn it in and get an A or whatever. No. Every time I look at this paper, I'm visualizing, okay, 500 times 250. As soon as I seen that times mark, I'm immediately visualizing that framework of that way to multiply. So now as I'm going through those problems, I do that every single time. That is how you train the actual pattern every single time. Boom, 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 boom. So now I'm no longer just studying. I'm no longer just doing the answers just to turn it in and get an A. I'm building a system that makes studying efficiently. And let's just talk about this one subject because I'm going to show you once we get to number 5 how this loop continues. So I'm studying it every single time. Boom, 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 boom. And now this is what number 3 comes in, high repetition. I keep doing it over and over and over again. I get it for this. Boom. Let's say they gave us 10 problems. Okay, let's say, and this is how you make it even deeper. Let's say they gave us, with just math class, they gave us two homework assignments for the week. Each had 10 problems. So that's a total of 20. I'm not just stopping it there. High repetition means doing it as much as possible until this system becomes repetitive, until I actually get this multiplication system down repetitive. They gave it to me on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Every single day, even if it's just less. Even if I do a couple of problems, I'm doing it every single day. On, let's say I did my Tuesday and I did my Thursday. I did my 20 for the week. On Monday, I'm doing some more. I'm just getting random problems. I'm just making up. I'm just random numbers. Just writing out random numbers. Boom, high repetition over and over and over and over again. And as I'm doing, the more repetitions that I get, I observe and I adjust. Okay, I can actually make this a little bit simpler if I look at it this way. Oh, I can, okay, this is too complicated. This one makes it, it's too many, it makes it a little bit harder. I can actually take this out and I can adjust this, observe and adjust. I keep on adjusting. The reason why I can observe and adjust is because I got so many high repetitions. If I'm only doing the 20 problems that they give me, I only got but so much to work with. Somebody that's doing 20 problems for the week versus somebody that does every single day and they do 100 plus every single week, you have so much more data to observe and adjust. And guess what eventually happens? It becomes automatic. You found the system that works. So now every time you see, it doesn't matter what that number is. It could be 3,000 times 165 million. And you already know the exact system in your head to get that problem. 200 times 500. 200 times 327. 365 times 798. You know how to follow and you know how to get every answer by following the same exact system. This become automation. And guess what you do after that? You apply that same thing to, if we're just talking about studying, you apply that same exact thing to whatever your other subject is. If you want to get better at, let's say, writing, let's say you have a writing class where you have to write a bunch and you want to get better at your writing flow, you already did that. Now you're going to do the same exact thing with this. You're going to define the pattern. What exactly do you want to get better at? You want to get, let's say, your handwriting. You want to get better at your handwriting. Exactly what about your handwriting? How you want your handwriting to look? Because there's so many different ways to exact. Do you want to get better at cursive? Do you want to get better at a specific style? Do you want your handwriting to look a certain way? How do you want you want to actually have a signature handwriting style? Because you know people have their handwriting styles. You want to get your hand placement better. Some people write bigger, some people write smaller, some people write a certain way. You want to define that. And once you figure out exactly what you want to do, now you train it. Now you keep on now you train the actual pattern, which is the writing. You get the examples, boom, and you high repetition. Observe, okay, maybe I'm pressing a little bit too hard. Boom, let me stop doing a little bit more. Okay, I can do this. Oh, my hand placement. That becomes automation. This constant flow. You see how, and that's it. That's literally it. That is how that system will work for studying. Do you see how, and let me know. Let me know if you were somebody who was in school and trying to learn how to study efficiently, would this system have helped you? I know for a fact this would have helped me, especially when it comes to multiplication. Especially when it comes to multiplication. Cause I ain't make a system like this for multiplication. If I would have had a system like this for multiplication, that'd make it so easier for me to do it. But this is the system flow. This is how it works. This is what it looks like for everything. So that's what I want to do. I want to start making videos. So if you guys have, I actually really do appreciate you for sharing that because it allowed me to show how it works, like off the top without anything specific. So if you guys have any other things, it doesn't matter. Even if it was just like what Teresa did, which was something random. If you guys give me anything that you guys want me to make a video on or just random stuff, please let me know so I can create a list of them because I have things already in my mind like certain systems, certain mental things, like social anxiety, trading, fitness, all of that. But I want a big list of it, and the more brains, the more thoughts, the better. So if you guys have any, definitely just let me know, and I will add that to my list of videos to make. I actually want to make a systems notes. Let's say ideas. Let's do uh actually let's make it, how do you do, which one is the note for, which one is the shortcut for task list? What's the short, I forgot what's the shortcut for the task list. Social anxiety. That's one that I want to do. Um, Let me see. Can you guys think of any off the top? Over leveraging. That is not how you spell over leveraging. Let me see. Over leveraging. Um, I'm already doing a series. Hesitation when entering a trade. Oh, I like that. Hesitation. Hesitation. Hesitate. Trading. Memorizing. Memorizing what? Memorizing. That's actually a good one. Memorizing candlesticks and patterns. Oh, I love that. I love that. Memorizing candlesticks. Actually, I remember doing that. I had a flow that I did that was when I was learning candlestick patterns. I remember doing something like that. Like when I was learning bullish engulfings, bearish engulfings, I had a mental thing that I would do that it would allow me to remember what a morning star was and what an evening star was. Especially, for example, like morning stars is at the morning the sun is originally like the bottom. It's the sunrise, morning star, sunrise, evening star, sunset. It's at the top. Those are small things like I did that. Memorizing candlesticks, social anxiety, overledging. Let's see. Unlocking handstands, of course, because I can share mine with that. Because I applied the same exact system to unlock the handstands. Now I have more structure with it. Now I have an actual structure to it. I was applying the system before I even created the system. Like real talk. I was applying, especially when it came to handstands. I was applying the system with handstands before I even knew how to um create a system, before I even got into this whole fitness and social media and business and all this stuff. Like before I was where I'm at now, because I first started off, it's crazy. Because if I'm looking at it, I defined the thing that I wanted to do, which was handstands. That's literally all I cared about. I didn't even know what a planche was back then. I didn't know what a front lever was. I didn't know what a muscle up was. I didn't know what none of them things was. I just a handstand. That's all I wanted. I defined the thing. It was just a handstand. I trained the actual handstand. I did not train no progressions for a handstand. I kept on the only three things I remember. I did it every single day. That's how I unlocked the handstand from zero to like a 15-10 second handstand hold in just 2 weeks. I showed up to the gym every single day, high repetition. I trained the actual handstand. So I was doing kick ups, I was doing falling over to fall out of it, and I was doing wall holds to get that actual hold. So I was being specific what I was training. I was observing and adjusting every single kick up, every single time I did. I was like, okay, I'm not kicking up too enough. I'm kicking up too far over. I was observing and adjusting, and I remember just one day it just clicked. and I just had my handstand hold, and I boom, and it was I didn't document that one. I actually did document one, which was me unlocking the one arm handstand. I remember posting that all the time on my Instagram. I said that yo, I'm gonna unlock this one arm handstand, and how I did it was the same exact thing. It was the Bosu ball one arm handstand. I was even more specific with it. So I was only training the one arm handstand on the Bosu ball, and I was training the actual one arm handstand. I wasn't doing like wall one arm handstands. I wasn't doing like all the different variations of progressions. I would literally put that parallel down, and I would keep on kicking up into it and trying to hold it and trying to hold it. And I did repetitions. I did it every single day, 100 plus attempts every single day. And then I was observing and adjusting every single time. Okay, boom, my arm needs to be like this. Instead of like here, I have my arm way too far out. Boom, I need to put my arm right here. Okay, my body's twisted too much. I need to come right here, tighten my core, squeeze my legs. And those small adjustments, what they do is it slowly builds up, because what I was doing was focusing on one specific thing at a time. So within that system loop, I even had like an internal system loop because I wanted to get the one arm handstand, but what I was doing was observing and adjusting, right? Okay, I want to make sure I tighten my core. So that's all I was focusing on. Every single kick up, tighten your core, tighten your core, tighten your core. Every single kick up. And then it got to the point where that became natural. I would naturally do that without thinking. And then, okay, the next thing, okay, my legs, tighten your legs, tighten your legs, tighten your legs. And I kept on doing that over and over and over again. I did the same thing for my arms. And I'll never forget, it was one day because that's when like the new gym opened. And I went from falling over, holding it for like 1, 2 seconds. And I went to the gym one day and immediately, first attempt, I just kept on getting 7 second holds, 8 second holds, 7 second holds, 8 second holds. And then it went from consistently 10 second holds, 15 second holds, 10 second holds, 50 second holds. And then I got my longest hold, which was like 27 seconds. I remember actually recording that one and documenting that one. It was like a 27-second one arm handstand hold. It took me 3 months to unlock it. And it took me, I want to say, less than 3 weeks after unlocking it to get a 27-second handstand hold. Same exact system applies. Same thing that I did with the muscle up. I wanted to learn the muscle up, so I actually trained the muscle up. I just used bands and trained the actual muscle up. And then within a week, I got the muscle up. So let's see, unlocking the muscle up. Uh, overcoming, what's that word? Overcoming gluttony. I'm doing a series on this one now, but overcoming porn, overcoming anger. Um, Let me see. Yo, there's so many videos that I can make. I'm just realizing this. Like, I could literally make 20 videos, 100 videos of this. So that's what I'm gonna keep on doing. This is same framework. Um, Overcoming procrastination. You know, it's so funny. It's so funny. Wow. It is wow. You know, it's so funny. I was at the park. Let me give you a quick story time. Let me show you how amazing God is. I was at the park and I want to share with you guys a system that I have in place now that is automatic for me now. But it was the what's the day? It was Today is Thursday. I want to say it was Monday. It was Monday. I did not want to go work out at all. Definitely didn't want to go work out. Being 110% honest. But I have a system in place that beats that. So I acknowledge the thought of, yeah, I didn't want to go work out. I'd be 100. I acknowledge that even though I love it, I didn't want to go work out. I generally really didn't want to go. But I have a system in place is when I don't feel like doing it, I start doing the action of doing the thing that I don't want to do. So I didn't feel like going to work out. So this is what I did. I said, yo, I don't feel like going to work out. And I set that laying down too. Of course, right? Of course, I didn't want to go work out when I was already comfortable laying down. So I got up. I said, okay, still don't want to go work out. I got my bag, got dressed, everything. Still don't want to go work out. I'm still at the crib. I'm gonna go put my bag in the car. All right, still don't want to go work out. Let me turn on the car. Still don't want to go work out. I'm gonna drive. I'm gonna make my way to the park that I went to go work out at. Still going there. Don't really feel like working out. And guess what? I'm there. I didn't feel like working out, but I'm at the park. So I might as well work out now. Even though I didn't feel like it, I'm already here. So now that I'm already here, are you going to come here and just go home? So I'm gonna just come to the park, drive all the way down here to just turn around and go home? Or am I gonna come out all the way here and just give a lack of effort and just come here just to waste time? I might as well go home at that point. She said gas is too expensive for that. But I'm like, I might as well just work out. And if I didn't do that, I would have never been able to plant the seed, and God would have never been able to use me to help somebody. It was one of my friends, right? I haven't talked to him in months, in a while. And he just randomly, I'm telling you, like, you cannot make this up. Like, people really just be spawning out of nowhere. He just randomly spawned out of nowhere, like in the middle, like walking towards to go play basketball. And I think I remember seeing him, like out of the corner of my eye. At first, I was like, "Is that him?" I was doing my workout. I was locked in, and then he came up to me, and this is what obedience looks like, right? I remember that exact same day, I was reading in Ecclesiasticus, where it talks about. I think I shared that verse with you guys, but when it talks about when somebody else is speaking, let them finish what they got to say first. Let a man continue, like whenever they're speaking, let them finish their thought. Let me see. I want to actually give you the clear scripture that was said. Let me go to Bible, Proverbs. Go here, not Proverbs. Let's go here. Let me show you guys this real quick. Let me see. Where is it at? Was it this chapter or was it? Let me see. Let me see. Warnings about women. Nah, it was after this one. I remember this. I think it was 11 or 12. It was definitely this. Yes, here we go. Um, let's see. Many women blame not before you have examined the truth. Understand first and then rebuke. Answer not before you have heard the cause, neither interrupt men in the midst of their talk. I vividly remember reading that scripture that day, and I applied. It kept on repeating in my mind, and that's the system that I have when it comes to how do I actually. That's another one. Applying scripture to life. That's another good one. But I have that. It was the verse that was playing in my mind all day. I just kept on having repeating, and he was talking to me. And as he started talking, that scripture popped in my mind. So I said, I'm gonna actually apply it. Let me apply it. The thing is, I like to apply the scripture that I read as soon as possible and as often as possible till it becomes repetitive. That is the best system that you can ever do. If that's the thing that I focus on now more so is a scripture as often, if I can apply the scripture as often as I possibly can, putting myself in situations and scenarios where I can apply that system over and over and over again, that scripture over and over and over again, to make a scripture automatic. Oh man, what, to make meekness? Well, I have not made that automatic, but like certain things, all what the scripture says, the righteous way of living, automatic. Oh, I see that every day. every day. But I was listening and he was speaking, and I didn't interrupt him not a single time. And what happened as well was there was a lot of silences. There was a lot of silences because I understood when I was listening, he wasn't speaking to me in a way of asking for my opinion. I could observe that as I was listening. It's like he's not asking for your opinion, and he's also not asking for your testimony. He's not asking for what you went through, how your situations are similar. He wasn't doing that. What he was doing was professing his sins, professing the things that he was struggling with. Because he wasn't covering up his sins. He was being real. He was like, yeah, I've been really trying to overcome procrastinating. I keep procrastinating when I do this. It was procrastination too. That's why I said this. But I keep procrastinating. I really got to overcome procrastination. He was telling me all the scenarios, all the different times. Like even that day, like he was procrastinating about coming out to go play basketball. And I was just listening the whole entire time. And he would pause. I wouldn't say anything. And I would just let him keep talking, let him keep talking. And then after that, I gave him the exact framework. Like I was just speaking off the top and I was saying this. And I was asking him those questions. I was like, well, what is it that you procrastinate? What is it? He was like, I need to journal more. He was like, my thoughts, like, I don't know. Sometimes, like, my mind be all over the place, X, Y, and Z. And I applied that same exact framework to him. I was asking him those questions. Well, what exactly do you procrastinate? What are the things that you procrastinate doing? Why is it that you procrastinate doing this, but when it comes to doing something else or whatever, like let's say playing video games or whatever, you don't procrastinate playing video games, but you procrastinate doing this. And then he told me, broke it down, boom, and then he left with so much wisdom and knowledge. It actually really helped him because because the book that popped up in my mind was Jonah, and I told him to read that one. But the story of Jonah reminded me of the same thing of procrastination because I correlated procrastination. That's what procrastination looks like. The story of Jonah is what procrastination looks like. Jonah procrastinated to go tell the people what Yah told him to tell him, and look what happened to him. Sometimes your procrastination is actually your downfall. And then I also told him this is the thing. This is the visual cue because I'm very visual. I said every time that you want to procrastinate, do this one thing. One simple thing that we can all apply. Think of the result of you procrastinating and also think of the result of you actually doing that thing. And after you do that, if you still decide to do that procrastination, after you done already visualized and seen that, yo, all of this would come from me not procrastinating, and you still decide to procrastinate, when you make that decision to procrastinate, if you fall short, it hits a lot deeper than just brushing it off. So it's powerful in both ways. It's powerful because if you actually decide to not procrastinate and do it, it becomes powerful. But if you actually still decide to procrastinate, it still becomes powerful because now you've also identified, and now what you have to do is take accountability. So if you said that you're procrastinating about going to the gym and working out, and you say that, okay, if I actually go to the gym, I'm going to improve my body, improve my mind as well because I was procrastinating with this. So I'm going to continue to keep chipping away at that that procrastination. I'm going to keep chipping that away. This My body's going to get better, my mind's going to get better, I'm going to get stronger. And then you say, well, if I don't go to the gym, I'll just go grab McDonald's, grab Chick-fil-A, just watch some TV, play some video games. Over the long run, it's still going to keep me in this constant loop. I'm still going to struggle with procrastination. This isn't helping me getting any further towards overcoming this. I'm accepting procrastination. I'm okay with it. And if you gave yourself those two scenarios and you still decide to procrastinate, it hits a lot deeper. Because now you just called yourself out and now you just revealed to it that now you got to take accountability. You got to actually sit with that. That's like you saying all of that and still doing it. That's like you taking a poop and going to sit in your own poop. That's literally what it's like. You taking a poop and to just go sit there in your poop. You're choosing to. It's not like you just stepped into some dog poo. No, you actually choose to go sit into your own poop. That's what it's like. When you didn't gave yourself that much of an explanation, that visualization, if you still decide to be lazy and still decide to procrastinate, just put that in your mind. You could use that one image. It's simple. You're literally, if I decide to procrastinate, that's like me taking my own poop and going to go sit in it. Make it as extreme as you want it to be. It doesn't really matter. And when you do that, you'll stop um, procrastinating so much and just do the thing. But that's just like a quick testimony of what happened the other day. GU is looking clean. So now GU is actually, there we go. So now we got the actual clothes. Speaking of books, you all need to read this book if you haven't done so already. Transformational. Becoming your own banker. Interesting. That looks clean. That picture looks clean as well, too. That looks like a crisp picture. I like that. I'm gonna have to check that out. Looking at GU real quick, right? The 1 hour actually closed below. Thank me later. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm gonna have to check it out. Add that to the collection. Let me see.